What up, what up, what up, you guys? Today is a very special moment in time for me. One of my heroes, one of my mentors, one of my coaches, and most importantly, a guy who's become my friend over the last 20 plus years. Mr. Grant Cardone is joining us today here on hashtag Rise and Grind. He's also joining us on Breakfast with Champions over on Clubhouse. So if you're on Clubhouse now, go ahead and ping your friends. We're going to talk about the wealth gap that exists in America. We're going to talk about some solutions on how we can get beyond that. We can talk about some of the things that Grant's doing right now. And I got some real questions for Grant. We're going to get real transparent on why he's building what he's building, right? We need to know, because as we know, G don't do anything unless it's win-win-win situations all the way around. So we're going to dive in, figure out where the wins are at, the impact that it's going to make, and it's going to be powerful. So get everybody up in here, hit the share button, hit the plus sign. You got about 90 seconds until Grant Cardone himself will be on the screen. Let's go.
Society is labeling, numbing people down to average, man. If you could just be average, then you'll fit in. But that's not who changes the world. That's not who makes a difference. That's not who creates industries. That's not who gets the freedom they want. And as long as I fought that, okay, for the first literally 45 years of my life, I fought this idea that I would be rich, I'd be famous, I'd have the hot chick, all these things. I fought it. Because I had people around me saying, dude, don't do that. You say too much, you have no filters, you can't control what you say. I mean, you see this in society. You know, maybe my mom was like, hey, Grant, you know, you're fine just the way you are. And I'm like, well, that's good for you to say. You know, people like the whole therapeutic community says, you need to love yourself the way you are. Dude, no, you don't. If you know you have more potential, you should not love yourself just the way you are. Why would you lie to yourself? People need to find their obsessions so that they're not average. Like, if you don't find the things that you're obsessed with, if you don't find those things, then you're just going to be average. You're going to be in the passenger of somebody's seat. And regardless of where you are in your life now, whatever your excuses or your ideas are, or whatever's going on in your life, whether you got kids or not kids, or young or old, you know, I've been in every situation in my life that you know, some awful. And what did I want to obsess about at that moment? Did I want to obsess about how limited my options were, or did I want to obsess about how much potential I might have had in that moment to change my life?
Grant Cardone owns and operates 7 privately held companies and a private equity real estate firm, Cardone Capital. He's got a multi-family portfolio of assets worth over $2.6 billion dollars. He's one of the top crowdfunders in the world, raising over $650 million in equity via social media. He was featured on season 2 of Undercover Billionaire, where he takes on the challenge of building $1 million business in 90 days, which is incredible. He's also a New York Times bestselling author of 11 business books, including the 10X Rule, which led Cardone to establishing the 10X Global Movement and the 10X Growth Conference. He is now the largest business and the 10X Growth Conference is the largest business and entrepreneur conference in the world. The online businesses and sales education platforms that he's created serve over 350,000 individuals and Forbes 100 clients throughout the world. Voted the top marketing influencer to watch by Forbes magazine, Cardone uses his massive 15 million plus following to give back via his Grant Cardone Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to mentoring underprivileged and troubled youth in financial literacy. Grant, I can't even say all the things you're doing anymore, man. You used to just slang some CDs and teach us how to overcome objections. You've come a long way.
Well, you know, Glenn, I just want to thank you so much for having me. And I was watching that video that you guys put up. I remember working rooms where there was, 20 people in a room. Sometimes there was, and 18 of them didn't want to be there. And to look at, to watch what you put up there and to watch that audience go from 18 or 20 people to 34,000 people in a stadium, to hear some of the things you just said, I was just like, I was proud watching what you put up there. But I'm like, what's that got to do with your title on Clubhouse? Grant Cardone did what?
Well, we're going to dive into that. I just wanted to make sure, in case somebody's been living under a rock for a little bit and didn't know exactly who we're talking to and about. And Grant, I've watched your journey over the last 24 years since you were introduced to me in a little tiny meeting room at this tiny dealership.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, little tiny meeting room, tiny dealership. Very first day of work, they were like, okay, you're going to sit and you're going to watch this guy's videos for all day. That's what you're going to do. You're going to sit and you're going to watch this guy's videos. That was my introduction to the car world. So it's been an inspiration to see all that you're doing, and now to have you in my life as a friend. It's been awesome to get to know your heart too, because you have a really, really, really big heart, man, really big heart. So we appreciate that. So today, what we need to talk about is you've done something that, from what I understand from my research, and as I'm looking through, you've literally done something that I've never seen done before. And what it is you're launching, you've already launched a fund at cardonecapital.com. You've launched a fund where everyone that has $1,000 can invest in these mega properties, these properties that are $400 million properties, $700 million properties, right? Trophy assets in the best locations. You're allowing people to get into these funds for just $1,000. And what's really unique and crazy about this is, prior to what you've been doing here, the only way anybody could get involved in any of these things is they had to be accredited investors, right? So can you talk to us real quick and explain what is accredited investor, and how is this particular fund unique and different from anything that's been done before?
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. And let me just go back a second, because a lot of people don't know where I started. And you're one of those few people. Many people are just running into me, like in the last 7 months or 2 years, or you hadn't seen my struggle. So Glenn remembers me before I had a TV show, before I had followers, I think, Glenn, when you met me, I had maybe 60 apartments, 60 units. Today we have 12,400 units. The portfolio is worth almost $4 billion. You cut me by $1.4 billion. And we're growing, right? And we have 10 companies here. We have 10X Incubator for startups, 10X Cardone Ventures, Grant Cardone Ventures for scaling companies. We've done over $1 billion worth of sales on the internet. Like, I've learned how to do a lot of stuff I knew nothing about. Social media, I learned how to use social media to my advantage. And I love what you said earlier. Everything I do is for a win-win, meaning I get to win too. And so bringing me to what we're doing right now, this has never been done. Now, some of you may think it's been done. You may think something similar has been done. What I'm doing has never been done before. We launched a non-accredited fund. This is our 17th fund. We have oversubscribed every single fund. I have never taken a broker fee. I've never given a broker a fee, a banker a fee, a middleman. Nobody's ever gotten paid on any transaction I've done, so that whether you're a friend, a family, or business partner, accredited or not accredited, 100% of your money gets invested in the transaction. So what happened was, I've been trying to start a non-accredited fund now for, 3 or 4 years. And my lawyers all said, don't do it. Glenn, don't do it. I love seeing you in the split screen, by the way, Glenn. I like it. So you got one of the best smiles in the world. And so my lawyers, I'll bet you a dozen lawyers all said the same thing. Do not do this. You have too much attention. You're too vocal. You're too transparent. You're too authentic. It's going to get you in trouble, bro. You do all this stuff on YouTube, and they're like, if you're going to do all that, this is the SEC you're dealing with. This is FTC you're dealing with. These are non-accredited investors. And I'm like, hey, bro, look, I didn't come here for a lecture, and I didn't come here for your opinion. I did not come here for your advice. I came here because I thought you could create a structure for me. Now, when I started doing this, Glenn, what happened was I started learning. And, the more somebody kicks me in the teeth and tells me I can't, and then tells me I'm wrong, the more I want to be like, there's something going on here. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, when I do an interview with somebody about the vaccine and you take the interview down, I become more resilient to the adventure.
of discovery. So when these guys started telling me, don't, and don't, I'm like, wait a minute. Goldman does it. Blackstone does it. Vanguard does it. Bank of America does it. Why can't I do it? And then I discovered what the deal is Wall Street's got this thing on lockdown. They don't want your kids investing with me. They want all those kids to themselves. 98% of the population, I didn't know any of this 3 years ago. 98% of the population in America is non-accredited. They earn less than 200 grand. So Glenn, do you know that if you earn, I know you earn more than 200 grand, but if you were a non-accredited investor, despite the fact that you've known me for 25 years and you are a friend of mine, you could not invest in my other funds.
Which is crazy, man.
My sister, who's a non-accredited investor, who's known me for 63 years, could not invest with me because she was non-accredited. And I'm like, man, this is stupid, man. Let's remind everybody that Grant Cardone was not non-accredited with those videos that you were playing. I didn't earn
right.
The first 3 years I was in business, I earned $36,000 a year. So based on that, I couldn't invest in my own fund. So this weekend, Friday, we announced non-accredited investors or accredited, either one, okay, can invest for $1,000. If you're non-accredited, you can invest for $1,000. If you're accredited and you call yourself a wealthy, rich guy, you know, whatever, you're doing better than other people, then you got to put 100 grand in. Right. So I'm actually penalizing the wealthy and rewarding the little guy. And the reason I'm doing this, Glenn, is because, and again, this has never been done. This is a trophy investment. It's $260 million deal. One deal, $260 million. I've already secured it with my credit line and with my money. So I'm buying this deal. I close on this deal December 10th, with or without anybody coming in. I announced it on Friday. No advertising, no middleman, no brokers, no bankers. $42 million in commitments. Everywhere from 1,000 to 50,000 commitments.
Unbelievable, man. That's
and I've had 2 phone calls, Glenn, already from Wall Street saying, "Hey, man, what you're doing is terrifying." I said, "Why is it terrifying?" He's like, "No, it's terrifying to us."
Right. But let's talk about this. I want to talk. And that's amazing. That's phenomenal. 40 plus million, just like that. Obviously, it shows there was a need. Obviously, it shows that the people want to have these opportunities. They want to be able to invest, right? They want to be able to dive in, and they haven't had them. And so you're opening up a door. You're ripping that off. But let's talk about this, dude. I was looking and doing research once you launched this, which I remember talking to you a couple, maybe it was a year or two ago, where you had told me that you were trying to do something like this, but they were telling you it was impossible, that it couldn't be done. And so I love seeing it come to fruition now. But I did some research. In the last 20 years, Grant, the median income has gone up 0.3% in America, right? Over that same percentage of time, over that same 20 years, the top 5% in America, their wealth has increased 42% in that same amount of time. So now we have 79% of the wealth, 79% of the wealth is now owned, or 79% of the money is now controlled by 5% of the population, has 79% of the money. It's the biggest generational wealth gap in the history of all time, right? And no offense to you, but a lot of it's the white boy billionaire country club, right?
1,000%.
That is in that 79%. So talk to me about, this system that's been built this way, that's keeping the middle class level, right? 0.3%, and then really feeding this upper class. How does this break through that? And why does this still exist, Grant? It's 2021, man.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Okay. There's two companies on planet Earth. In addition to the problem that you talked about, Vanguard and Blackstone, by the end of this decade, will each be worth $20 trillion. Now, Glenn, what that means is that there's 2 companies on the planet. I'm not talking about Bill Gates money or even Elon Musk money. I'm not talking about Warren Buffett money. I'm talking about Blackstone could consume Elon, Warren, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg and not even know there was an event. Do you understand? They could take literally, like, this isn't 1%. This isn't white boy money. This is institutional assets that have been deployed under different names. This game is so unrigged. It's unbelievable. Two companies, Vanguard and Blackstone, will own $20 trillion in assets by the end of the decade. That means two companies will own 1%, 99% of all the assets on planet Earth. Now, that's not an exaggeration, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what does Blackstone and Vanguard do? They consume companies and then they distribute paper, little pieces of paper to the rest of the world. They take great assets and all the great things that come with those assets, income, depreciation, control, appreciation. They then turn it into pieces of paper. It's like a drug dealer that brings cocaine out of Bogota and cuts it with mannitol or some other powder to take his 1 ounce and turn it into 5 ounces and increase his supply and make profit. This is exactly what Wall Street has been doing for years, okay? Now, they cut it up. What they do is they grab guys like me, white guys like me. Real estate is controlled by white guys, completely on lockdown with white people, white men, and I'm not being racist here. I'm just telling you guys what the deal is. I've done $4 billion worth of real estate deals. I haven't seen any color on a deal. I haven't seen any women on a deal. I have bought 45 deals, negotiated another 400. And I haven't seen any color. I haven't seen black, brown, or women on a transaction. So these are institutional quality assets. So what are we left with? The American public is left with the garbage and the leftovers. Okay, a house is a big deal for us. You're told over and over, buy a house. When I started studying this, I'm like, why do they keep talking about the house thing so hard? Oh, shit. And then 2010 happens and millions of households lose their home. Guess who bought them? Guess who was right there waiting to buy 10,000 condos in Miami? A company called Blackstone. Wrote a check for all 10,000, filled them up with renters. This is 12 years ago, guys. I'm sitting in Los Angeles, California, and I'm studying the game. 2010, if you look at my career, everything changed for me in the last 12 years. I'm a hockey stick of study for the last 12 years, but I'm not just learning. I'm starting to like employ what I'm learning. So I'm watching Blackstone in Miami buy 10,000 units. I'm like, why are they doing that? So you guys are studying Gary Vaynerchuk and I'm watching Blackstone. Okay. And no offense to Gary or Tony or even me, but I'm watching $1 trillion company that's going to go to 20 trillion. And they have in the last 10 years. So they go buy 10,000 apartments. They then rent the 10,000 apartments. 4 years later, they refinance the 10,000 apartments. They turn the rental stack into paper and sell the treasury bonds to the American public, probably your grandmother who gets a dividend of like 2% or 3% a year. It's called a REIT. And I'm like, I told my wife, I said, I think I just figured out where we got to go. So the game's on lock, bro. So what I did was I started infiltrating. We moved to Miami, and I started infiltrating these white groups, these white real estate groups, and I started buying deals. And the thing about real estate and about life, by the way, you got to give people what they want. So I would buy a deal. I was easy to close. I paid the price. I never walked away from a deal. I've been doing this 30 years. I've walked away from 2 deals in my entire life only because I was forced to. And so I'm known as a closer. I'm known as a reliable person. Now, when they watch my Instagram, they get all confused. They're like, what's he doing on Instagram? Okay. But when it comes to the deal, all of a sudden I'm putting more money down than the guy next to me. I'm using less debt than the guy next to me. I'm buying better assets. I'm buying the stuff that Blackstone, like this last deal I bought, the biggest insurance group in the world. I beat the biggest group in the world.
Wow.
There was 5 groups. All of them were institutions, meaning they're not people buying them. These are $100 billion companies, and I beat all of them because the speed, my offer, and my credibility in the marketplace.
Love that, man. The speed, the offer, credibility in the marketplace. So talk to me, Grant.
Then what I did is I close it with my money, and then I offer it to my friends. Okay, Johnny, come on in. So like Johnny, the camera guy, you guys, many of you have been following me. Johnny, the camera guy,
Johnny's my boy.
He's not qualified, right? So I'm like, Johnny, put in $1,000 and you're in this deal. He's like, I can do $1,000. And then a lot of people are like, I can do 1,000, I can do 5,000. We got, look, these companies that I mentioned earlier, they have all the retirement accounts, all the IRAs, all the 401ks. Bro, it's on lock. Mm-hmm. And not only do they have the IRAs and the 401ks and all the retirement money, then they tell you what you can invest it in and what you can't.
They sure do. Yep.
They got it.
You're spot on.
And that is why it's so expensive and prohibitive for me to start a non-accredited fund. Last thing I'll say is this. I can start a fund for rich guys, and it takes about 12 minutes to get approved.
Right.
To start a non-accredited fund, and it cost me maybe $10,000, by the way, to start that fund for the paperwork.
Right.
To start a non-accredited fund cost me $300,000 and takes 9 months.
Golly, man. So everything is stacked in their favor. We see that, we understand that, and golly, I know you've been fighting to break through that. On the other side of it, because it has been a white man's game for a long time, there's not a whole lot of education in the those that are in the middle class or the lower class, those that are in the minorities. There hasn't been a lot of education around real estate. And we can talk about real estate, and I think on the outside we kind of have an understanding of real estate. You know, the average real estate return year over year is like 8%, right? It's a long-term play, it's a long-term investment, but we don't have a lot of education around that. Here's what I'm seeing right now, Grant, and so here's what I want you to talk to. What I'm seeing as I travel around is, we've heard about the stock market forever, so minorities, middle class, we might dabble in that a little bit. We've got our 401ks, right? Because the company set those up. We understand that, right? Or at least we understand that the company set that up. When I jump into crypto circles or Bitcoin circle, dude, I see tons of minorities in there. You want to talk about some brothers at the table? They're there. They're 100% there. Why is investing in this fund and in real estate a smarter play than the market, the crypto, or some of these other places where I am seeing people that look like me?
Yeah. So first of all, let me just say, when you said there's not a lot of education on real estate, actually there is. I just would say to you, there's a lot of miseducation, meaning and misdirection. You're told to buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, don't rent, buy a house, because they're easy to get. You can put 3 or 4% down in the past. Now it's harder. It's getting a lot harder. And in the last couple of years, you would have had some appreciation in your home. But the truth is, a home, by definition, is not an asset. In fact, the SEC, when they calculate your net worth, will not use the home as a calculation of net worth. But most of us are told to buy a home. Now, why are we told to buy a home? Because it's a prison, man. It's a way for the government to have you on lockdown. It immobilizes, takes away mobility from the individual and the family. It locks you down to a tax base and ensures, this is the old, the earth is flat concept, okay? The earth is not flat, everybody knows that, so they started roaming around, so they came up with a new program. Buy a house. And now people can't even leave their house. So you see what I'm saying? Like, get a 30-year mortgage. It's prison, man. Can you imagine? I mean, you get 12 months and for doing something wrong. That's a long time. 30 years in the same house is forever. So number one, we have been miseducated. You guys should be investing your equity in real estate that pays you, not for real estate that you pay for. Okay, so I know this is hard to think with because so many generations have been hoodwinked to believing you need to own a home, when in truth, you never own a home. Okay? You never actually own a home, even when it's paid for. So that's number one. Number two, on the 8% return thing. So my average real estate has returned over 25% per year.
Dang.
I don't advertise that because nobody's going to believe it. But if you go back and look, if you look at CardoneCapital.com and look at some of my past deals, I have deals that go into infinity returns. So when your friends are like, I'm buying Bitcoin, I bought Amazon, I got a 16,000% return. I have returns on some real estate that we've owned for 7 and 8 years that is 16,000% times 100x. And I still own the asset class, and it still pays me every month, and it's still appreciating every month, and I still get the write-offs every month. This is how true wealth is accumulated. Mm-hmm. True wealth is accumulated like this, okay? So you take something and you buy something. And I understand the crypto thing, and I understand stocks and ETFs because it's easy. I can buy it for $2. Right. I can put $2 in. And
it's a little easier to understand it, right?
Yeah, but you can't sell the crypto because nobody does, by the way. Nobody's selling their crypto. They just keep it.
Right.
Like so where's the profit?
I know there was a Bitcoin billionaire on, I think he was on Forbes magazine or something, and he's a Bitcoin billionaire, but he's living in a 1-bedroom apartment because he hasn't cashed out any of his Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the only thing he could do for the crypto guys, and I own some crypto, by the way. I'm not trashing.
Sure, me too.
I hope it replaces the U.S. dollar because anything's better than the U.S. dollar.
I agree, 1,000%.
But I know this, this asset right here. I got guys doing crypto that are like, bro, can I put some of my Bitcoin in that beast? We paid $160 million right before COVID for this property. Before COVID, no, right after COVID. We bought this during COVID. This is worth $250 million since I closed on it. And it pays me every month. Okay. Right. The return on that asset is going to be about 6% a year. I think we hit a 20% return to our investors over the life of the asset. If I sell it, which I probably won't. What I'll probably do at 7 years, I'll probably refinance it, return everybody their money. We still own it. And every time I get $1, it becomes an infinite return. This is how true wealth is created like this. This is why Apple Computer borrows money today. Check this out. They just borrowed, I think they borrowed $90 billion. And they had $270 billion in cash. What did they do with the $90 billion? They bought their stock back. So they borrowed money when they had money to buy their stock back and reduce the amount of supply of Apple stock on the market. Now, Apple stock pays a 0.88% dividend. The banks pay 0.012%. Okay. So when you were talking about the wealth gap earlier, this is really, really important for people to know. You guys understand that it takes you 8 years to earn 1% on your money. So for $10,000, if I'm right, let me see your phone, Johnny. You got a calculator on this? For every $10,000, just so you guys understand, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, every $10,000 that you have in the bank, you earn $120 per year. Yeah. Times 8, you will earn $960 over 8 years on a $10,000 check. But what does the bank tell you? Save your money, save your money, save your money, save your money, save your money. You know why? Because they take your money. They convince you to save it, just like they convince you to eat breakfast and meat and get a vaccine. They convince you to do these things that may or may not be good for you. In most cases, they're not good for you. They're good for the bank. Then the bank says, hey, take that money and buy a house, and we'll lend you the money. Okay, so look, this is them getting your money. You spend time, the most valuable thing that you have. You spend time to get some money. Okay, you spend some time to get some garbage. And you take the garbage. It says, in God we trust. You guys got to know this whole thing's a big lie, man. God ain't got anything to do with this piece of paper. He doesn't have anything to do with it. They pulling on your patriotic strings. They're pulling on your religious fears and misunderstandings. And they're like, hey man, this is a trustworthy piece of paper. This piece of paper is a piece of garbage. It is no more valuable than this legal pad. This legal pad as a blank pad not used there's no more value.
Right.
In fact, there might be more value in this pad. None of this is worth anything until it is used. So people see me buy a helicopter. They're like, dude, why would you buy a helicopter? Like, who needs a helicopter? I'm like, I'd rather have the helicopter than have this.
Yeah.
This can't fly any of my clients around. This can't save me time. So what I do, Glenn, and this is what the American public needs to be taught. Convert paper, never convert paper to paper. I've been doing this now for, 20 years. My belief is this: I'm not going to convert this to a piece of paper. That's Wall Street's game. They want me and my mom to convert paper to treasury bonds. Traps people. They want me to convert this to a stock that they control. We all know that many of these stock and companies are removed from the S&P 500 to get that 8% return. Okay, when a company, General Electric, wasn't performing for the last 8 years, it was a major company on the S&P 500. What did they do? Let's take it off and put Facebook on there.
Mm-hmm.
When they don't do well, dude, they just remove them. Also, they're reporting. They report the best. They literally pick on these funds and mutual funds. They pick the best time to show we did 17% last year. But if you waited one more minute, it did minus 4%.
Right. Right.
So look, the whole thing's on lockdown. I want to convert this into real assets. I basically want to take something that goes up in value that I like. This building, this is a building. And if I can wait 5 or 6 or 7 years, this building will get not bigger, but more valuable. And in the meantime, I get paid to wait. And never before has the everyday investor been able to invest in the kind of assets I'm buying, because those assets couldn't even be bought by a guy like me.
Sure. So Grant, I love that. And if you guys want to get involved in this, it's CardoneCapital.com. Go to CardoneCapital.com and you can invest your $1,000, minimum $1,000. You can invest more. The properties are the premier properties that you will find. They're absolutely incredible properties. So go to CardoneCapital.com. I was looking through them all yesterday. They're really, 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 really beautiful properties, Grant. So I got to know a couple things. First of all, I need to know, so security wise, okay, on the backside, I was talking to a guy called me, said, hey, Glenn, I know you know Grant. I know you trust Grant. I don't know Grant as well. From the outside, you got Grant and Elena and their family, which are beautiful. Now I'm giving them my money. I'm giving them my data. I'm giving them my information. What is the infrastructure kind of on the back? On the back, he's like, they're not Goldman and Sachs. They're not Blackstone. These names that we have been known to trust, even though they've been raping us for the last couple hundred years, right? So what does it look like on the backside? What's the infrastructure? And let's get real transparent. How does Grant and Elena and the 10X Empire win from this move?
Yeah, so, and I wasn't able to see you while you were saying.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I hit the wrong one.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, so, and I think it's really important that this is a great question people ask. I have almost 200 staff here. About 40 of them are dedicated just to accounting for our investors. So for our accredited, very transparent, for our accredited investors, we send checks out every month. I got 3 people in there. All they do the entire time they're here is, like, every cycle, they're preparing checks for the next cycle. Every month we distribute to our accredited, non-accredited, we distribute every quarter. Because it was just a little, like, we doubled.
Sure.
We doubled,
Makes
sorry,
sense.
I didn't have the clubhouse open. We doubled the number of investors we had here in 72 hours, in the last 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be an infrastructure to do that. I'm not doing it, okay? I'm the guy that finds the deal, buys the deal, negotiates the deal, and then promotes the deal. I'm a great promoter. Many of you just know me as a promoter, but what you don't know is I'm actually, I am a lethal businessman.
Right.
I'm on deals. I'm like, guys, there's 12 lawyers on the other side, these big groups, these big institutions, and I go by myself. And they're like, where's your team? I said, I'm the team, bro. Okay, because what happens is that gives me an advantage in that negotiation. And so because they think they can take, because I'm the guy that doesn't know anything. I said, guys, I'm not sure about all that. Like, y'all talking over my head. And this one guy's like, oh my God, dude, I'm with the most dangerous person in the room. It's this guy that says he doesn't know anything.
Right, no doubt.
So the infrastructure here is we have tremendous amounts of support from an accounting team, COO, CFO. Ryan Secco's with me every day. We have an entire team that takes care of questions and calls. I'm too transparent. Like, I talk too much to do anything wrong.
Yeah, and so as far as people's data and stuff like that, right? Like, it's all.
Well, that's all run by a secure crowdfunding site.
Okay.
And so all that money sits in an account, and the helicopter and the jet, by the way, just so you guys know, that's paid out of my funds, not your funds.
Right.
Okay. 100% of your money. Let me just tell you, Glenn, and I've never told this to anybody, this how scrutinized I am by the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
3 months ago, I bought a house in Golden Beach, 605 Golden Beach.
Yeah, I remember you were putting in palm trees and the holes were deeper than you were.
I wrote a check for the place. It was $23 million. I bought it from Tommy Hilfiger. It's a recorded event. You can't hide it. Within 21 days of the purchase, the SEC calls my office and says, "Hey, we want to do we want to subpoena your checking accounts." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, bro." I told my COO, I said, "Why don't we make the SEC an administrator on my checking account?"
Oh wow.
Because they're like, "Where'd that money come from?" Okay, but they don't understand my other business does $150 million a year.
Right.
We do about $500,000 on a bad day on the internet sales, books, programs, webinars, seminar tickets, boot camp tickets. Plus we raised,
that's an insane number, man.
$4 million this year for the Grant Cardone Foundation. And so they don't, they don't understand my operations. Glenn, you do. You know how much money I'm making on the other end.
Right.
That's how we buy the helicopters and the jets.
So how do you win on this fund? How do you win on this deal?
How do I win? So the way we win, number one, and most importantly, is I'm able to scale my portfolio. So we're at 12,000 units. My goal, and people should ask, hey, what's the goal of Grant Cardone?
Right.
My goal is to be on the top 10 list. I need 50,000 units to do that. And I don't have enough money to get there by myself. So number one, it helps me scale. Number two, I don't want to use Goldman's money. I don't want to use Blackstone's money. If I use their money, I become their bitch. If I don't use their money, I become their itch.
Right. Okay? I
love
that. I love that.
They going to be like, hey, man, like I've already had a group call me. Hey, why don't we do something together? I'm like, I can't do anything with you. And they're like, why not? I said, because then you don't need me. I can't feed you later if I feed you now. So what I mean by that is, and I have a play here. You guys need to understand my play is not a management fee on this deal, even though we get 1% to manage the asset. So when we buy an asset, we get a management fee. When we sell an asset, we get a management fee of 1%. That's less than many of the groups out there. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
We do an 80-20 split on the upside of the property. All the cash flow and the upside, I get an 80-20 split. But what a lot of people, even people that like know real estate, don't understand. When I refinance this property and I return everybody their money, I don't kick people out of the deal. That's what the institutions do. Many people do not know this, even sophisticated real estate investors. And they're like, oh, I'm looking at Grant Cardone's fund and I'm looking at Blackstone's REIT. When Blackstone takes their investors out because they refinance properties just like everybody else does, they return your money and kick you out of the deal. And now they own that asset with no funds in it, and they continue to build wealth. How do you think you get to 20 trillion? You don't get to 20 trillion because you sell stuff. You get to 20 trillion because you get rid of your investors and accumulate and hold the asset. So when you guys compare me to anyone, Fundrise is a garbage dump compared to what I'm doing. You'll never get the trophy asset. You'll never become a true partner. You'll never be able to talk to the guy that owns it. And as soon as they get the monies they need, they will kick you out of the deal. And if they can position themselves to own the asset, while you put the money in, you put the hard time in, the first 7 or 8 years was the time, and then they got you out of the fund. So number 3 way I win, Glenn, is and I've never told anybody this, but I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yes, sir.
I've been trying to figure out how to run for president of the United States.
Yes. Yes.
Check
That's
this out.
what I'm talking about. Woo!
Check this out. This is
Grant, I talked to somebody about this just the other day on this fund. I said, you know what? If he were to ever run, what a thing to be able to run on, to say that he opened up the ability to invest to the 98% of people that can't currently do it, that he created revenue paths and ways for them to accumulate wealth. That's a hell of a platform to stand on, man. That is a hell of a platform to stand on.
So this is the play, okay? If I get 10 million people to give me $25,000, that's a lot of money.
Right.
Okay, I can buy $1 trillion. That's $250 billion. We've already raised almost $1 billion with no brokers.
Crazy, man.
It's insane, bro. Okay, it's insane. Like what I've done is insane. Like only the Kardashians. I'm not selling lipstick and showing my booty. Okay, I'm not selling alcohol like Diddy, right?
Right.
People are giving me money, and for that they get a piece of freedom, a piece of security, a building. These buildings cannot be wiped out or disappear.
Right.
The stock market could drop 50%. COVID could be extended for 3 years. It doesn't matter, man. Our apartments performed perfectly through COVID. And 40 million people were let go of work, and they still made their rent to me. Why? Because my locations are sick. They do not want to leave these properties.
Right.
So if I raise 25 billion, I'm sorry, yeah, 10 million people give me 25,000. What is that? Let me just be sure I'm doing the math right. One of the things I do when I buy an apartment is I do the math over and over and over again. How much is that, Johnny?
10 million.
10 million people.
Times 25,000. You broke my calculator. I need a bigger one on my phone here.
Yeah, that's
2.5 with 11 zeros. So
that's $250 billion.
250 billion.
Okay, now I'll use that as a down payment and buy $1 trillion worth of real estate.
Right.
I'm going for a T, dog.
I love it, man. I love it. We were talking about Elon Musk and his T this morning.
Now, you asked me how I win. Okay, if I can build a fund that big, I charge a 1% acquisition fee.
Right.
Okay, so Johnny, I don't know why everybody has their damn cameras, their phones on lock. If you guys don't think the government can bypass your little lock.
Yeah, so that's $2.5 billion.
Yeah. You know, I make a lot of money every year, but I now have enough funds to actually run for president.
Hey.
Number two, I know I got 10 million people, if I don't screw them, if I pay them every month or every quarter, 10 million people will vote for me for sure.
Yeah, they sure will.
Like you guys don't even have to like my political stance. You're gonna be in there. You're gonna be like, okay, do I go Cardone or do I go whoever? I don't really like what Cardone stands for. Sometimes he's too aggressive, but damn, he pays me all the time. And the
That's exactly right.
Vote for Cardone. Vote for Cardone. That's how I pay for my bags.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it, Grant.
And the last thing, let me just tell you the last thing, and I'm serious about the president thing. If I can actually build a big enough base of people and do the right thing by them, which that's what I do. I do the right thing. 30 years I've been in business. People will say they don't like me. Some people that say negative things about me, they can not like me, but nobody can say I've ever screwed them, ever. We have a 100% refund policy on all our products here at our company. People that have needed redemptions on our real estate, I think 271 people during COVID needed help. I helped them. I bought them out of their position. The fourth way in which we win is this, and I did not know this. This was not a plan. When we originally opened our funds up for accredited investors, the people that put money in started buying more of our products and services.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know it. It was completely, I was oblivious to the concept that when somebody comes as an investor and then I start paying them checks, when they become a partner, there's something that happens spiritually.
Yeah.
That they're like, okay, I want to support his growth conference. I want to support his foundation. Yeah. I want to support, and so those are my 4 selfish reasons.
Dude, beautiful, beautiful selfish reasons. I love it. Just so you know, when you run, you got me and my audience. I'll be your well, I won't be your campaign manager because I got a business to run over here, but I will promote and push Grant Cardone because I do believe in who you are and what you stand for, man. You don't have to be doing it.
I might need you like an ambassador or something. Okay?
Now that I can do. And you don't have to do any of this. That's the best. What I think is the best part. You and Elena's killing it with EXP. You're killing it with real estate on your side. Plus you've got your, all your other businesses that are crushing it, social media crushing it. And you could tuck your tail, go hang out, buy an island, sit with the fam, drink margaritas. Like you could totally do that. You don't have to do any of this, but you're fighting for all of us, man, all of us that have these dreams and desires to be able to build wealth, to have freedom, like you said, to be able to have real freedom, which it's very clear in what's going on around the country today or around the world right now. Our freedoms are being ripped from us left and right. And it's going to take some people to stand up and fight to do something about that. And I know that you're leading that charge. I know I kept you over on time, but Grant, if you have anything else, obviously everybody highly endorsed. Go get involved with Cardone Capital, whether that be as an accredited investor or a non-accredited, because you now have both options, which you didn't before. Make sure you're following and supporting Grant if you can. And Grant, man, I'll let you wrap us up, or I don't know where you're at in time. Do you have
I'm good on time, Glenn. I just always love being with you, man. And guys, I just want to tell you, like, I grew up the hard way, and my mom, part of why I'm doing this is I know my mom would be proud of this. She passed 12 years ago. I was, 10 years old. My dad died, and my mom stepped up and did whatever she could to raise 5 kids with no income. And she was terrified of every financial move she made for the entire, from the age of 10 to when she passed. She was terrified about money her entire life. She was scared of the plumber. She was scared of the car dealer. She was scared of the roofer. She was scared to go to the grocery store. She was scared, man, because she didn't have money coming in. Mm-hmm. And while you guys hear me talk about money a lot, I think a lot of people don't fully understand what my motivation is behind this money thing. And I know as a 12-year-old kid watching my mom, I could not help her. And it hurt me. It killed me to see my mom scared. So watching that was like, that's really where I decided as a kid, I'm going to get rich. But more importantly, when I get rich, I'm going to help my mom, and I'm going to help everybody like my mom. So this is for all the single mothers out there. This is for the marginalized families. This is for the left out. And this is for everybody that's getting screwed by the system. And I've always been a disruptor, Glenn. I've always had ideas that were a little outside the coloring lines, whether it was in the automotive business or, I was one of the first people to start doing online training.
Right. All the things. I
created a product called ePencil for car dealers that was giving people information before, at a time when the car dealer didn't want to give information.
They still don't want to.
If you see my career, man, my career really has been a disruptor. And now I'm going to disrupt. I'm taking on the biggest players in the world. And if you guys can support me in doing that, super cool, man. I really appreciate it, because this isn't just about the money. This is about like leveling the playing field. Last thing I'll just say is, like, we're at a time where a lot of stuff is being disrupted.
Yeah, man.
Currencies are being disrupted. Social media is being disrupted. We're talking about metaverses. Homeschooling, people are being taken out of schools. I mean, Glenn, both of you and I homeschool our kids. I don't know why more people don't do that.
I agree, man.
I think COVID, by the way, was a blessing, a gift from God. I know this is going to offend some people, be like, that is not a gift. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, and you guys just don't want to unwrap the gift. But maybe you need to start homeschooling your kids, okay? Maybe you need to get control back. Maybe you need to leave that job where they want to poke you. Maybe all these are opportunities for you to shift. Maybe you need to move. Me and Elaine have moved 7 times, man. Every time things get bad around me, I'm like, what's the opportunity here? COVID happens. What's the opportunity here? So I'm looking for, what is the message? Okay. When I hated being a car salesman, I learned how to get great at something I hated, and it opened the door to the rest of my life. So I really, truly believe that what I'm doing, it will be adopted by other people. I just don't know if they can catch up with me.
Right.
Because these white 60-year-old real estate guys and these investment bankers at Wall Street, they don't know how to come here to do a podcast.
That's a fact.
Can you imagine? Dude, these people are so disconnected. I was at one of the big bankers. You would know their name if I mentioned it. Everybody would know the name. And I said, guys, how do you think the average household in America is doing? Oh, they're killing it. People are killing it. I'm like, I walked out of there saying, these people are so disconnected.
Clueless, man. It's like when they were asking Zuckerberg stuff about Facebook. It was clear they had no idea what's happening.
They're completely disconnected from the reality of the everyday person that is trying to buy, just trying to improve the level of their life. So, guys, I promise you this. Glenn, thank you so much for your time. I promise you this. When you invest with me, when you do it, okay, one, it is backed by a real asset. A real piece of property. You can go Google the address. There's tenants there. There's cash flow there. This is not a pipe dream. Okay. It's not about going up and down. You don't have to check the value of it. Number 2, 100% of your money is invested in the asset. Number 3, I become your partner. There's not many people that work harder than me. Kevin Hart says he does. Will Smith says he does. The Rock told me he works harder than I do. I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's work together, and then we're even working harder. I am a master promoter and negotiator. And the reason that's important is I negotiate the best deal when I'm buying the deal. When I'm getting the debt, I negotiate the best deal I can. And number 2, I then promote the property to make sure it's full. So we're putting 10X on every apartment building I own.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're getting 2 and 3 points higher occupancy because of that. So I'll never let you guys down. And when I run for president, the only thing I want is I want you to vote for me one time.
Grant, I know from a previous interview I talked to you about goals, and we talked about setting a date, and you said it doesn't matter. It's just about getting there. But do you have a date that you want to be president of the United States? When can we look forward to this election?
Yeah, so the next cycle would be what? The next one's 2022?
Next one's 2020. Has Biden already been in? No. Biden just got in there. Next one's 2024.
Yeah, 24, right? 24. So I think 2032 would be, I'd be 71 years old.
Okay.
You know, I'll still have enough energy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe 2032, man.
2032.
So I got to do my P's and Q's. I got to probably start cleaning up some of my YouTube channel.
2032. Grant Cardone for President of the United States. You heard it here first, folks, on Glenn Lundy's Facebook page, as well as Breakfast with Champions over on Clubhouse. Grant, I know that you've got another one. Everybody, thank you, Grant. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Everybody, join in, be a part of Cardone Capital. Go to cardonecapital.com right now. Get your investment in. I don't care which side, credited, non-accredited. Just be a part of the movement that is the 10X movement and the person that is Grant Cardone. I 100% believe in this man, 100%. He will serve you well. All right. With that said, friends, I hope you enjoyed this interview with my man, Grant Cardone. I'm going to let him go.